Our next story is brought to you by NordVPN. Help secure your web traffic and protect you from snoops, spies, and anyone else from stealing or monetizing your data. All for 75% off at nordvpn.com/TYT. Use the code TYT and get a free month now.
The big story this week is Donald Trump targeting Representative Elijah Cummings. And his big argument is that Elijah Cummings is the reason for crime in Baltimore. He has referred to Baltimore as infested, rodent infested, every negative word you can imagine he has used to describe Baltimore, and he's blamed it on Representative Cummings. Well, he's decided to double down on that today. And so I want to show you how he doubled down, and then I'm going to give you the reality of what's actually infested, and it's related to Trump. Take a look.
Those people are living in hell in Baltimore. They're largely African American. You have a large African American population, and they really appreciate what I'm doing, and they've let me know it. They really appreciate it. And by the way, the numbers just came out. Unemployment for African Americans is the lowest it's been, the best numbers, meaning in the history of our country, the lowest in the history of our country. But people have called from Baltimore thanking me so much, because all that money that's been spent over 20 years has been stolen and wasted by people like Elijah Cummings.
So he accuses Representative Elijah Cummings of theft. He argues that Elijah Cummings is stealing from Baltimore. So just remember that every time Donald Trump decides he wants to take up his meetings at Mar-a-Lago or play golf at Mar-a-Lago, he is draining resources from the US taxpayer so he can go play around with a few balls on a course somewhere, right?
Every time he has a rally in a random city that he refuses to reimburse for police protection, he is stealing.
That's theft, right?
It's just like, it was like 2 seconds ago that the right wing was like freaking out over like, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib for like, criticizing America. And like, it just 2 seconds later, Trump is like, well, America, it's a hell. Who would want to live there, this American city?
Of course. He campaigned on that. Got to make it great again because it's so bad.
I mean,
that the blacks are running free.
So,
blacks.
So let's talk a little bit about crime, because Donald Trump argues that, hey, there's a lot of crime in Baltimore. And it's all Representative Cummings' fault. Okay, first of all, there is definitely issues with poverty in Baltimore, and I've made this point, before. It's not just Baltimore. There is poverty throughout the country, right? The wealth disparity, the income disparity, that gap continues to widen, and it continues to do so under Trump's leadership. And so he can be boastful about the unemployment numbers if he wants, but all it takes is one follow-up question, a little more of a deep dive into the quality of those jobs, and it tells a completely different story, a completely different picture. Wages have remained stagnant. Those jobs are part-time jobs, temporary jobs. They are not paying a living wage to the workers. And it's amazing to me that he keeps touting the economy, and his supporters just buy into it when they know, you know what your bills look like, you know what your paycheck looks like, you know what your financial stability looks like. The economy has definitely improved for a very small group of people in this country. And it's the top 1%, which got a $2 trillion tax cut, while taxes for other people went up, by the way, okay? So there's that, but let's talk about crime. So just to remind you, Trump tweeted the following over the weekend. Representative Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of Border Patrol about conditions at the southern border, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse and more dangerous. His district is considered the worst in the USA. As proven last week during a congressional tour, the border is clean, efficient, and well run. We all know that's not true, just very crowded. Cumming district is a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess. If he spent more time in Baltimore, maybe he could help clean up this very dangerous and filthy place. You know what has actually turned out to be a very dangerous place? Trump Tower, which has been, there's been a lot of white collar criminals living in Trump Tower. Many of them have been arrested. Many of them have faced some consequences for it. But I mean, that's his property. Trump, what's up? Why is there so much crime tied to the Trump Tower? Why are there so many criminals living in Trump Tower? I'll give you some examples.
One could say it's crime infested.
It seems to be crime infested. So, hat tip to the wonderful gentleman who put this thread together on Twitter, and we're gonna share his tweets right now. So let's go to the first one. Representative Elijah Cummings, on the subject of crime infested, a thread. Paul Manafort, former Trump campaign chairman, owned and lived in a condo on the 43rd floor of Trump Tower, currently in prison for money laundering, bank fraud, tax fraud, witness tampering, and conspiracy against the United States. Zeddy is the individual who's putting this thread together. Let's go to the next one. By the way, I didn't even include all of his tweets.
No,
it's a very long thread.
It's spectacular.
Kelly Namad owns the entire 51st floor of Trump Tower, pleaded guilty and received 12-month prison sentence in 2014 for operating an illegal multi-million-dollar gambling business out of Trump Tower. Crime infested.
Yeah.
Case tied to notorious Russian mafia boss of all bosses. That's just another example. Let's give you some more. Vadim Trincher, former condo owner on the 63rd floor of Trump Tower, mastermind of Trump Tower gambling ring with Namad. 5 years in federal prison and $20 million in asset forfeiture for racketeering. And then he had to correct that tweet. It's a small correction. Correction to this tweet, Ivankov hid out in Trump Tower on 5th Avenue, not Trump Tower Moscow. Trump Tower Moscow is the unrealized project of that Trump pursued with the Russian government during the Trump campaign, then lied about it. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm not gonna read through every single one of them, but if you want, we can just show you as we continue having this conversation. And please check out the thread, because it is very detailed. And it's not just about what happened in Trump Tower, it's about crimes that Trump committed himself, including inflating his assets in order to obtain loans, which is fraud, deflating his assets in order to save on his taxes, which is tax fraud, using his own charitable foundation to enrich himself. I mean, the list goes on and on. Trump University, which defrauded these students, he had to pay a $25 million settlement as a result of that. I mean, this man is the definition, the epitome of crime, and he's going around arguing that other people are stealing or other people are behind crime in America. No, you're behind crime in America. I mean, he's breaking the law at the border right now and still separating children at the border from their parents.
And unfortunately, he didn't invent this rhetoric that crime only matters when it's poor people. He just gets to swim in it, and he got to swim in it and just like let it just wash all over him all the way to the White House. But yeah, the problems, there's so much crime that the feds have now started looking into specifically these huge purchases of fancy condos and apartments in New York City because there is so much crime behind a lot of these purchases.
I mean, I think
it's wild, right?
Any luxury condo building in Midtown Manhattan is probably just like just a hothouse of white collar criminals from all over the world. I mean, from this thread, just seeing in Trump Tower, the baby Doc Duvalier had a condo in Trump Tower. The butcher of Haiti, had a condo. Oh my God, like it's just like it was like a cornucopia of the worst people on earth, all of them. But I mean, again, like it's probably true of Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan, as it is true of like almost any luxury condo in Midtown Manhattan. Just infested with white collar criminals all over the place.
R. Kelly was living at Trump Tower in Chicago.
He had like women. He was holding women in the condo in Trump Tower.
Yeah, and that condo specifically that Baby Doc owned, I think it has like a long history of really shady ownership. It's a really fascinating. I feel like
There should be a documentary on it.
There should be
on Baby Doc.
Yes, it's just. You would think
the FIFA criminals were there. Chuck Blazer, who was the American guy who went to jail for the FIFA scandal, he had two condos, one for himself and one for all his cats. That was a very famous story from a few years ago.
You would think like the man who
cats.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a whole apartment just for his cats.
That's ridiculous. You would think the man who is just so tough on crime, he just hates crime. He just cannot stand anything anywhere that there is crime. Would at the very least be like, you know what, y'all got to stop paying for these in cash.
Yeah.
At the least.
Right, I mean,
something is up. We can't, at the very least, because I don't like crime. And it's not gonna happen under my house.
I would love to ask him if he felt this negative reaction to crime when he made illegal hush money payments to porn stars he was sleeping with. The hush money payments right before the election. I don't know. How did he feel about that crime? I mean, come on, he's a criminal.
Right, because
he's a criminal.
Guess who else owned an apartment in Trump Tower? His former lawyer.
Michael Cohen, yeah, he is.
There's so many. I mean, again, please go check out that thread. I love how it's just a focus on a building that literally has Trump's name on it, and it's crime infested.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber, and second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.